The first rock hit the mailbox with a clang that echoed like a gunshot. Ethan Carter, 16, froze on his front porch, his heart pounding as laughter erupted from the shadows across the street. By the time the second rock sailed through the air, he was already running. The word faggot scrawled in red paint on his family's garage door burning into his vision. It was the summer of 2025 in Willow Creek, a sleepy Ohio suburb where everyone knew everyone's business. And Ethan's business had just become the neighborhood's favorite sport. He'd come out 3 months ago, a quiet confession to his best friend, Mia, that somehow spread like wildfire. Now, the kids he'd grown up with, kids he'd played tag with, shared secrets with, had turned into a pack of wolves, their taunts sharp as knives. Ethan slammed the front door behind him, his breath ragged. His dad, Tom, looked up from the kitchen table, a half-finished coffee mug in hand. "What's wrong, kid?" he asked, his voice steady but laced with concern. Ethan didn't answer. He couldn't. The shame was a weight, crushing his chest, making words impossible. Instead, he bolted upstairs, locking himself in his room, where the world couldn't reach him. But the world always found a way. Willow Creek wasn't a bad place. Not on the surface. Tidy lawns, white picket fences, and block parties every 4th of July painted a picture of all-American charm. But beneath the polish lay something uglier, a quiet agreement to keep things normal. Ethan had broken that unspoken rule. His soft-spoken nature, his love for painting, his gentle smile feed always made him different. Coming out as gay just gave the town a name for it. By the next morning, the red paint on the garage had been joined by eggs splattered across the windows. Tom scrubbed at the mess with a sponge, his jaw tight, while Ethan watched from his bedroom window. He wanted to help, to say something, but the fear of stepping outside kept him rooted. What if they were watching? What if they threw something worse than eggs? "Ethan, get down here," Tom called, his voice carrying that no-nonsense tone that meant business. Reluctantly, Ethan trudged downstairs, expecting a lecture. Instead, Tom handed him a paint roller. "We're fixing this together," he said. "No one gets to make us feel small." Ethan nodded, but his hands shook as he dipped the roller in white paint. The street was quiet, but he felt eyes everywhere. Mrs. Henderson peeking through her curtains, the Larson twins snickering from their bikes. He painted faster, desperate to erase the evidence of their hate. But as he worked, a memory surfaced, his dad teaching him to ride a bike on this very street, cheering even when Ethan fell. Tom had always been there, steady as a rock. Would he still be, now that Ethan was this? That night, Mia showed up at the back door, her backpack slung over one shoulder. "I heard what happened," she said, her eyes fierce. "Those jerks are idiots." She was the only one who hadn't turned on him, the only one who still saw Ethan, not the label. They sat on his bed, scrolling through her phone, where ex-posts from local kids mocked him with hashtags like Willow Creek Freak. Ethan's stomach churned, but Mia squeezed his hand. "You're not alone. Okay. We'll figure this out." But figuring it out felt impossible when the next day brought a new attack. Someone had taped flyers to every lamppost on their block, each one screaming slurs in bold letters. Ethan tore them down, his face burning, but not before half the neighborhood saw. At school, whispers followed him like shadows. He skipped lunch to hide in the art room, sketching furiously, trying to drown out the noise. Tom noticed the change in his son, the way Ethan's shoulders slumped, the way his laughter had gone quiet. He didn't push, but he started spending more time at home, cooking Ethan's favorite meals, asking about his paintings. One evening, as they sat over spaghetti, Tom said, "You know I love you, right? No matter what." Ethan nodded, but the words felt fragile, like they might break under the weight of the town's judgment. Then came the night that changed everything. Ethan was walking home from Mia's when a group of older boys led by Jake Larson, the neighborhood's golden boy, cornered him in the park. "Fairy boy," Jake sneered, shoving Ethan against a tree. The others laughed, circling like vultures. Ethan's heart raced, his fists useless against their numbers. He braced for the hit, but then headlights cut through the darkness. Tom's truck screeched to a stop. He stepped out, all 6 feet of him, his face a storm. "Get away from my son," he growled, his voice low but deadly. Jake smirked, but the others hesitated. Tom didn't. He strode forward, pulling Ethan behind him, staring down the boys until they scattered. In the truck, Ethan cried for the first time since it all started. Tom didn't say anything, just rested a hand on his shoulder. But as they drove home, Ethan saw something new in his dad's eyes, a fire. A promise. This wasn't over. The next morning, Willow Creek buzzed with gossip. By noon, X was flooded with posts about the park incident. Some calling Tom a hero, others accusing him of overreacting. Ethan stayed offline, his phone face down on his desk. He didn't want to know what they were saying. He just wanted to disappear. But Tom wasn't one to hide. He spent the morning on the phone, his voice low but urgent, talking to people Ethan couldn't hear. When Ethan asked what he was doing, Tom just said, "Fixing things." Ethan didn't know what that meant, but the look in his dad's eyes, part fury, part determination, made him uneasy. Tom wasn't just protecting him. He was planning something. At school, the bullying didn't stop, but it shifted. Jake and his crew kept their distance, wary of Tom's wrath, but the whispers grew louder. Ethan caught snippets in the halls. "His dad's crazy. Should have stayed out of it. Freak runs in the family." He tried to focus on his classes, on Mia's jokes, on the sketches he hid in his notebook. But every word stung. Every glance felt like a blade. That afternoon, Ethan found Tom in the garage, surrounded by plywood and paint cans. "What's this?" Ethan asked, eyeing the mess. Tom grinned, a rare spark in his eyes. "A project. You'll see." He handed Ethan a paintbrush. "Want to help?" Ethan hesitated, then nodded. For the next few hours, they worked side by side, cutting wood and painting signs. Tom didn't explain, and Ethan didn't ask. It felt good to do something, to focus on the rhythm of the brush instead of the chaos outside. By evening, the signs were done, dozens of them, each one bold and colorful, with messages like "Love is love" and "Hate has no home here." Ethan's heart skipped as he read them. "Dad, what are these for?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Tom's smile was fierce. "For the neighborhood. For you." The next day, Tom and Ethan drove around Willow Creek, planting the signs in every yard that would take one. Some neighbors, like Mia's mom, hugged them, and took two. Others, like Mrs. Henderson, slammed their doors. By sunset, the street was a patchwork of color, a silent rebellion against the hate. Ethan felt a flicker of hope, but it was fragile. Signs couldn't stop the rocks, the flyers, the laughter. That night, Mia came over with a plan. "We need to fight back online," she said. Her laptop opened to X. "They're talking trash, but we can change the narrative." Ethan shook his head. "It won't work. They hate me." Mia's eyes flashed. "Then we make them see you. The real you." She started typing, drafting a post about Ethan's art, his kindness, the boy behind the label. Ethan watched, torn between fear and gratitude. When she hit post, his stomach twisted. What if it made things worse? By morning, Mia's post had gone viral in Willow Creek. Some comments were supportive, sharing stories of Ethan helping at the community center or painting murals for the school. Others were vicious, calling him names, mocking his dad. Ethan read them until his eyes burned, then shut his laptop. "It's not enough," he told Mia. She didn't argue, but her jaw tightened. "We're not done yet." Tom, meanwhile, was moving faster. He'd organized a meeting at the community center, inviting every neighbor who'd take a flyer. Ethan didn't want to go, but Tom insisted. "You don't have to speak," he said. "Just be there." The room was packed, some faces friendly, others skeptical. Tom stood at the front, his voice steady but raw. "My son is not your punching bag," he said. "He's a kid, same as yours, and he deserves to feel safe." The room was silent. Then Mrs. Larson, Jake's mom, stood up. "Maybe Ethan should keep his lifestyle private," she said, her voice tight. Ethan's face burned, but Tom didn't flinch. "His lifestyle is being himself," he said. "What's yours?" "Teaching your kid to bully." The room erupted, some clapping, others shouting. Ethan wanted to sink through the floor, but Tom's hand on his shoulder kept him grounded. As they drove home, Ethan finally spoke. "Why are you doing this, Dad? You're making it worse." Tom's hands tightened on the wheel. "Because I love you," he said. "And because no one gets to hurt my kid and walk away." Ethan didn't know what to say. He'd never seen his dad like this, fierce, unstoppable, fighting for him in a way he hadn't known was possible. But the fight was far from over. That night, someone set fire to one of Tom's signs, the flames licking the edge of their lawn. Ethan watched from his window, his heart sinking. This wasn't just bullying anymore. It was war. The smell of charred wood lingered in the air as Ethan and Tom surveyed the damage the next morning. The sign was a blackened husk, but the words "love is love" were still faintly visible, defiant even in ruin. Ethan's chest ached, not just for the sign, but for the hope it had carried. Tom didn't say much, just grabbed a shovel and started digging up the ashes. "We'll put up another," he said, his voice calm but unyielding. Ethan wanted to believe it was that simple, but the fire had changed something. The neighborhood wasn't just whispering anymore. It was fighting back. At school, the tension was thicker than ever. Jake Larson avoided Ethan, but his friends didn't. They shoved him in the hallway, their laughter sharp and cruel. Ethan kept his head down, clutching his sketchbook like a shield. In the art room, he poured his anger into a new painting, a storm of reds and blacks. A boy standing alone against a faceless crowd. His teacher, Ms. Rivera, saw it and paused. "This is powerful, Ethan," she said. "You should show it." Ethan shook his head. Showing his art meant showing himself. And he wasn't ready for that. Not when every day felt like a battle. But Ms. Rivera didn't push. Instead, she slipped him a flyer for the town's annual art fair. "Think about it," she said. "Your voice matters." Meanwhile, Tom was doubling down. He'd started a group chat on X, rallying neighbors who supported Ethan. The group grew slowly. Mia's mom, the librarian, a few parents from the community center, but it was something. They planned a vigil for the burned sign, a quiet stand against the hate. Ethan didn't want to go, but Mia dragged him along, her arm linked through his. "You're not hiding," she said. "Not anymore." The vigil was small, maybe 20 people, holding candles in the park. Tom spoke first, his voice steady but thick with emotion. "This isn't just about my son," he said. "It's about what kind of town we want to be." A few neighbors nodded. Others stood silent, their faces unreadable. Ethan stood at the back, his candle flickering, feeling exposed but strangely grounded. For the first time, he wasn't alone. But the peace didn't last. The next day, someone spray-painted "Go back to the closet" on the community center's wall. Ethan saw it on his way to school, the words like a punch to the gut. He wanted to run, to hide. But Mia was there, snapping a photo. "We're not letting this slide," she said, uploading it to X with a caption, "This is what hate looks like. Stand with Ethan." The post spread faster than the first. Support poured in. Neighbors, strangers, even a local news outlet picked it up. But so did the hate. X became a battleground, with comments ranging from prayers to slurs. Ethan read them all, his heart torn between hope and despair. He wanted to believe in the good, but the bad was so loud. Tom, though, was relentless. He organized a cleanup at the community center, bringing paint and brushes for anyone who showed up. To Ethan's surprise, a crowd came more than at the vigil. Ms. Rivera was there, along with some kids from school who'd never spoken to Ethan before. They painted over the graffiti, turning the wall into a mural of rainbows and stars. Ethan hesitated, then added his own small figure holding a paintbrush, standing tall. As they worked, Tom pulled Ethan aside. "I'm proud of you," he said, his voice soft but firm. "You're stronger than you know." Ethan didn't feel strong, but his dad's words were a lifeline. He clung to them, even as the next blow came. That night, Jake Larson posted a video on X. It was grainy, shot in the park, showing Ethan tripping over a tree root, his sketchbook spilling into the dirt. The caption read, "Fairy boy can't even walk straight." The comments were brutal, hundreds of them, tearing Ethan apart. He watched the video on loop, each view carving a deeper wound. Mia tried to get him to delete it, but he couldn't stop. It was like watching himself unravel. Tom found him curled up in his room, the phone still playing. Without a word, he took it, turned it off, and sat beside him. "They don't get to define you," he said. "You do." Ethan wanted to believe him, But the shame was too heavy. What if they're right? He whispered. What if I'm wrong? Tom's face hardened. Not with anger, but with love. You're not wrong, he said. You're my son. And you're perfect. He pulled Ethan into a hug. And for the first time in weeks, Ethan didn't pull away. But outside, the neighborhood was still simmering. The mural, the vigil, the signs, they were sparks in a powder keg. And Ethan knew, deep down, that something bigger was coming. The air in Willow Creek felt heavier now, like the calm before a storm. Ethan woke to find another sign burned, this time in Mia's yard. The news spread fast, and by noon, X was alight with arguments, some blaming Ethan for stirring trouble, others calling for the vandals to be caught. Ethan stayed in his room, sketching to keep his hands from shaking. His latest drawing was a boy with wings, trapped in a cage of thorns. He didn't show it to anyone, not even Mia. Tom, meanwhile, was on the move. He'd contacted the local police, who promised to patrol the neighborhood. But their assurances felt hollow. They're not taking it seriously, Tom muttered, pacing the kitchen. Ethan watched him, guilt gnawing at his insides. This was his fault. If he hadn't come out, none of this would be happening. Don't you dare think that, Tom said, as if reading his mind. This isn't on you. It's on them. He grabbed his keys. Come on. We're going to the hardware store. Ethan blinked. For what? Tom's grin was almost reckless. You'll see. At the store, Tom loaded their cart with floodlights, motion sensors, and a security camera. No more hiding, he said. If they want to play dirty, we'll be ready. Back home, they spent the afternoon installing the equipment, turning their house into a fortress. Ethan felt a strange mix of pride and fear. His dad was fighting for him. But what if it wasn't enough? That night, Mia came over with news. The art fair's this weekend, she said, her eyes bright. MS. Rivera entered your storm painting. Ethan froze. She did what? Mia grinned. It's good, Ethan. People need to see it. He wanted to argue, but the thought of his art out there, speaking for him, was both terrifying and thrilling. The fair was a big deal in Willow Creek, drawing crowds from neighboring towns. Ethan had always loved its booths, the music, the smell of popcorn. But this year, the idea of standing in front of his painting, exposed to everyone, made his stomach churn. What if they hate it? He asked Mia. She shrugged. Then they're wrong. But they won't. Saturday morning, the fair buzzed with life. Ethan's painting hung in the school's booth, its bold colors drawing eyes. He stood nearby, half hidden behind Mia, as people stopped to look. Some whispered, recognizing his name. Others just stared, their faces unreadable. Then Mrs. Larson walked by, her lips pursed. She paused, read the title caged and walked away without a word. Ethan's heart sank. But then a stranger approached, an older woman with kind eyes. This is yours, she asked. Ethan nodded, bracing for criticism. Instead, she smiled. It's powerful. You've got a gift. Others followed, neighbors, kids from school, even a reporter from the local paper. They didn't all love it, But they saw it. They saw him. Tom was there too, beaming like Ethan had won a medal. "Told you," he said, nudging him. "You're stronger than you know." Ethan managed a smile, but the weight of the past weeks still clung to him. The fair was a moment, not a victory. That night, the security camera caught something. Tom and Ethan watched the footage in the living room, their hearts pounding. Two figures, hooded and quick, crept onto their lawn with cans of spray paint. Ethan recognized Jake's lanky frame immediately. They didn't get far, the floodlights blazed, and the boys ran, but not before the camera got a clear shot. Tom called the police, his voice calm but firm. By morning, Jake and his friend were in custody. The news spread fast, and Willow Creek split, further, some outraged at the vandalism, others defending Jake as a good kid who'd made a mistake. Ethan stayed out of it, but the victory felt hollow. Jake wasn't the only one. The hate was bigger than one person. Mia, though, saw an opportunity. "We need to keep pushing," she said, her laptop open to X. She drafted a new post, this time with Ethan's painting and a story about the vandalism. "Let's show them what's at stake," she said. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. The post went up, tagged with "Stand with Ethan." By evening, it had thousands of likes. Messages poured in, not just from Willow Creek, but from strangers across the country. Ethan read them, his eyes wide. "You're not alone. Keep painting. Your dad's a hero." For the first time, he felt something shift. The hate was still there, but so was the love. Tom sat with him as he read, his arm around Ethan's shoulders. "We're getting there," he said, "one step at a time." Ethan nodded, but his mind was on the fair, the painting, the messages. Maybe, just maybe, they could win this. The fallout from Jake's arrest was immediate. His parents, the Larsons, held a tense meeting with Tom at the community center, mediated by the police. Ethan wasn't there, he didn't want to be, but Tom came home with a grim expression. "They're sorry," he said, his voice heavy with sarcasm. "But they still think you're the problem." Ethan stared at his sketchbook, his pencil frozen. "Maybe I am," he muttered. Tom's eyes flashed. "Don't you start. This town's got issues. Not you." He sat across from Ethan, his hands clasped. "We're not backing down. Not now. Not ever." The next day, the local paper ran a story about the vandalism, Ethan's painting, and the Stand with Ethan movement. It was small, tucked on page 3, but it felt huge. Ethan read it over breakfast, his heart racing. For the first time, his name wasn't tied to slurs. It was tied to courage, to art, to his dad's fight. But Willow Creek wasn't ready to change overnight. At school, some kids avoided Ethan, while others, ones he'd never talked to before, started saying hi. One girl, Sarah, slipped him a note in history class. "I'm sorry for not speaking up sooner." "You're brave." Ethan tucked it into his pocket, a small spark of warmth in the cold. Mia, meanwhile, was relentless. She'd turned Stand with Ethan into a campaign, posting daily on X about acceptance, sharing stories from other LGBTQ kids in nearby towns. Ethan helped when he could, but it was hard. Every post felt like stepping into a spotlight, and he wasn't sure he was ready. Tom had his own plan. He'd been talking to the mayor, pushing for a town hall meeting on inclusivity. We need to face this head-on, he told Ethan. Not just for you, but for every kid who feels like they don't belong. Ethan nodded, but the idea of a town hall terrified him. What if it backfired? What if the hate got louder? The meeting was set for Friday night, and Willow Creek was divided. Flyers went up some for the meeting, others against it, calling it propaganda. Ethan saw one taped to a stop sign. Its words sharp, "Keep Willow Creek normal." He tore it down, his hands shaking, and called Mia. "I can't do this," he said. "It's too much." "You don't have to do it alone," she said. "We're all in this." She showed up an hour later with a stack of posters for the town hall, each one featuring Ethan's painting. "This is your voice," she said. "Let it speak." Friday came too fast. The community center was packed, the air thick with tension. Ethan sat in the front row, Mia on one side, Tom on the other. The mayor opened with a speech about unity, but it felt rehearsed. Then Tom stood up, his voice steady but raw. "My son is 16, he said. He loves to paint. He's kind to everyone. And he's gay. That's not a crime. Bullying him is." The room was silent. Then a man in the back shouted, "What about our kids? They don't need to see this." Ethan's stomach dropped, but Tom didn't flinch. "Your kids need to see love," he said. "Not hate." A few people clapped. Others muttered. Then Ms. Rivera stood, holding a photo of Ethan's painting. "This is what Ethan sees," she said. "A cage. Let's help him break free." The room erupted, some cheering, others arguing. Ethan wanted to run, but Mia grabbed his hand. "Look," she whispered. People were standing, holding signs like Tom's, their faces fierce with support. For the first time, Ethan felt the tide turning. After the meeting, a few neighbors approached, awkward, but genuine. "We didn't know it was this bad," one said. "We'll do better." Ethan nodded, unsure how to respond. He wasn't used to apologies. But the night wasn't over. As they left, a group of Jake's friends stood outside, shouting slurs. Tom stepped in front of Ethan, his voice low. "Go home," he told them. They didn't move until the police arrived, dispersing the crowd. Ethan's heart pounded, but Tom's hand on his shoulder was steady. "We're okay," he said. "We're okay." Back home, Ethan couldn't sleep. He opened his sketchbook, drawing a new emoji of boy stepping out of a cage, his wings unfurling. It wasn't finished, but it felt like a promise. The town hall had cracked Willow Creek open, exposing its fault lines. Over the next week, the neighborhood was quieter, no rocks. No flyers, but the tension lingered. Ethan felt it in the stares at school, the hushed conversations that stopped when he walked by. He kept drawing, his sketches growing bolder, but he still felt like he was holding his breath. Tom wasn't slowing down. He'd started a petition for an anti-bullying ordinance, collecting signatures door to door. Some neighbors signed eagerly. Others shut him out. "We're planting seeds," he told Ethan. "Change takes time." Ethan nodded, but time felt like a luxury he didn't have. Mia's campaign was gaining traction. Stand with Ethan trended beyond Willow Creek. catching the eye of a national LGBTQ advocacy group. They reached out, offering to send a speaker to the next town hall. Ethan was stunned. His story was bigger than he'd ever imagined. But with the attention came pressure. X was flooded with both support and hate. And Ethan's inbox filled with messages. Some kind, others cruel. One message stood out. From a kid named Alex in a nearby town. "I'm gay too." It read, "Your painting gives me hope." Ethan read it over and over, his throat tight. He showed it to Tom, who smiled. "See, you're reaching people." The next town hall was bigger, with news vans parked outside. The advocacy group's speaker, a woman named Rachel, shared stories of kids like Ethan, weaving them with data on bullying's impact. Ethan listened, his hands clasped tightly. When Rachel mentioned his painting, the room turned to him. He froze, but Mia nudged him. "Say something," she whispered. Heart pounding, Ethan stood. His voice shook at first, but it grew steadier. "I just want to be me," he said. "I don't want to hide. I don't want to be afraid." The room was silent, then erupted in applause. Ethan sat down, his face burning, but Tom's proud smile was everything. Afterward, Rachel pulled Ethan aside. "Your art could do a lot of good," she said. "Ever thought about a bigger platform?" Ethan hadn't, but the idea stuck. He spent the next few days sketching ideas for a series paintings about identity, fear, and hope. Ms. Rivera offered to help him submit them to a regional art show. And for the first time, Ethan said yes. But not everyone was inspired. Jake Larson, out on bail, posted a new video on X, mocking the town hall. "Willow Creek's gone soft," he sneered. The comments were vicious, reigniting the hate. Ethan tried to ignore it, but it was everywhere, classmates sharing it, neighbors whispering. He felt like he was back at square one. Tom saw the change in him. One night, he sat Ethan down. "You're not fighting alone," he said, "but you've got to keep going. For you. For kids like Alex." Ethan nodded, but the weight was crushing. He didn't know how much more he could take. Then came the call from the police. They'd caught another vandal, not Jake this time, but one of his friends. The kid confessed, naming others involved. The news hit Willow Creek hard. Parents were furious, some at the vandals, others at Tom for making a scene. Ethan overheard Mrs. Henderson muttering, "This wouldn't have happened if he'd kept quiet." The words stung, but Ethan was done hiding. He started painting again, pouring his anger and hope into a new Paisea boy with wings soaring over a burning town. It was raw, unpolished, but it was him. He showed it to Mia, who gasped. "This is it," she said. "This is your story." She posted it on X, tagging the advocacy group. The response was overwhelming: shares, comments, even an offer from a gallery in Cleveland to display it. Ethan couldn't believe it. His art, his pain, was becoming something bigger. But the night before the gallery show, someone broke into the community center, trashing the mural. Ethan saw the photos on X, his heart sinking. The rainbows were gone, replaced by slurs. He wanted to give up, to crawl back into the cage. But Tom was there, his voice steady. "They're scared," he said. Because you're winning. Ethan didn't feel like a winner, but he trusted his dad. And as the gallery show loomed, he knew it was time to take a stand. The gallery show was in a sleek Cleveland space, all glass and white walls, a world away from Willow Creek's picket fences. Ethan's paintings hung in a corner, each one a piece of his heart caged. Storm. And the new one. Flight. He stood beside them, nervous but proud, as strangers milled around, their voices a low hum. Tom was there, of course, in a flannel shirt that looked out of place but felt like home. Mia was too, snapping photos for X, her grin infectious. "You're a rock star," she whispered. Ethan didn't feel like one, but the crowd's reactions, nods, murmurs, even tears made him think maybe his art was enough. A man in a suit approached, introducing himself as a curator. "Your work's got soul," he said. "We'd love to feature you in a youth exhibit next month." Ethan blinked, stunned. Before he could answer, Tom clapped him on the back. "Told you, kid. You're unstoppable." The show wasn't all smooth. A few Willow Creek neighbors showed up, their faces tight with judgment. Mrs. Larson lingered near Flight, her lips pursed. Ethan braced for a comment, but she just walked away. It wasn't acceptance, but it wasn't hate either. He'd take it. Back home, the vandalism case was unraveling. The police had charged 3 kids, including Jake's friend, and the town was reeling. X was a storm of opinions, some calling for justice, others defending the kids as misguided. Ethan stayed offline, focusing on his art. He'd started a new painting, a boy standing with a crowd behind him, their faces blurred but hopeful. Tom's petition was gaining steam too. The mayor agreed to consider the anti-bullying ordinance, and the advocacy group sent resources to help. Ethan watched his dad work tireless, fierce, a man who'd never backed down from a fight. It made him want to be braver, to keep going even when it hurt. At school, things were shifting. Sarah and a few others started sitting with Ethan at lunch, their presence a quiet shield. Jake was suspended, his friends scattered. The whispers didn't stop, but they were softer now, less venomous. Ethan felt the change, small but real. One night, Mia showed him a new ex-posta video from Rachel, the advocacy speaker, praising Ethan's courage. It had thousands of shares, comments flooding in from across the country. Ethan read them, his eyes stinging. "You're an inspiration. Keep fighting. Your dad's a legend." He showed Tom, who laughed. "Legend? Huh. I'll take it." But the fight wasn't over. A week later, someone slashed the tires on Tom's truck. Ethan found him in the driveway, staring at the damage, his face unreadable. "Dad, I'm sorry," Ethan said, his voice breaking. Tom shook his head. "This isn't on you. It's on them." He called the police, then started fixing the tires, his hands steady. Ethan watched, a mix of guilt and awe. His dad wasn't just fighting for him, was fighting for something bigger. For every kid who'd ever felt like they didn't belong. Ethan grabbed a wrench, helping where he could. They didn't talk, but they didn't need to. The next town hall was different. The room was fuller, the air less hostile. Tom spoke again, this time with Rachel by his side. They presented the petition, now with hundreds of signatures. Ethan sat in the front, his sketchbook open, drawing as they spoke. He didn't plan to stand, but when Rachel called his name, he did. "I'm not going anywhere," he said, his voice clear. "This is my home too." The room erupted in applause, louder than before. Ethan saw Mia cheering, Tom beaming, even a few neighbors nodding. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. That night, Ethan finished his new painting. The boy's wings were spread wide. The crowd behind him no longer blurred but clear, their faces full of light. He titled it Together. When he showed it to Tom, his dad's eyes glistened. "That's us," he said. "All of us." The youth exhibit in Cleveland was a month later, and Ethan's paintings were the centerpiece. Caged, Storm, Flight, and Together hung side by side, telling his story in color and shadow. The gallery was packed, with people from Willow Creek and beyond. Ethan stood by his work, nervous but steady, his dad and Mia flanking him like guardians. A reporter from a national outlet approached, asking for an interview. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. "I just want people to know it's okay to be themselves," he said, his voice stronger than he felt. The reporter smiled, jotting it down. Later, the article would go viral, Ethan's words reaching kids he'd never meet. Back in Willow Creek, the anti-bullying ordinance passed by a narrow vote. It wasn't a cure, but it was a start mandatory training for schools, stricter penalties for harassment. Tom celebrated with a rare grin, raising a glass of soda at dinner. "To you," he told Ethan. "You made this happen." Ethan shook his head. "You did." But Tom's eyes were fierce. "We did. Together." The neighborhood wasn't transformed overnight. Some, like Mrs. Larson, kept their distance, their silence a quiet judgment. But others changed. Sarah's mom started a book club on inclusivity. The librarian hosted a pride event, small but bold. Even Mrs. Henderson left a basket of cookies on their porch with a note, "I was wrong. I'm sorry." Ethan kept painting, his art a bridge to the world. The advocacy group offered him a scholarship to an art program, and he accepted, dreaming of a future where his voice could grow. Mia, ever his cheerleader, was already planning a new X campaign for Pride Month. "We're just getting started," she said, her grin infectious. One evening, Ethan and Tom sat on the porch, watching the sunset. The street was quiet, the signs still standing, their colors faded but proud. Ethan thought of the rocks, the paint, the fire and the love that had outshone it all. "Dad," he said, his voice soft. "Thank you." Tom's hand found his, strong and steady. "Always, kid. Always." As the stars came out, Ethan felt something new, not just hope, but certainty. He was enough. He was loved. And no matter what came next, he'd never face it alone. Willow Creek wasn't perfect, but it was changing. And so was Ethan. His wings were unfurling, ready to soar.